Welcome to The Executive Appeal, the show for CEOs of early 8-figure companies who feel like the business only moves when they push. If you're running a $10 to $25 million company and every big decision still rolls up to you, your leaders are smart but misaligned, trust is thinner than you'd like, and you're tired of being the hero that keeps everything moving, this is the room for you. I'm your host, Alex D. Tremble, CEO of GPS Leadership Solutions. I help CEOs see exactly where their own leadership is bottlenecking speed and trust, and then install one clear leadership operating system so their executives take real ownership and the business can run fast without them in every fire. Each episode of this podcast has 2 parts. First, we spotlight the guest, their story, what they built, how they think about leading their people. Then we get honest about what's still hard at the top, where things slow down, where trust and ownership break down, and what they're doing to fix it. No theory, just what actually worked in the room when the cameras were off. Now, let's meet today's guest. Hey, it was good, Mike. How you living today, man?
Hey, how you doing, Alex? Good to see you.
Great to see you. Last we spoke, we were debating on who was the most fashionably dressed man. I think I again have won, with
Very
my answer
clearly
being you.
I just trying to keep up with you, Alex. Just trying to keep up with you.
Kind sir. Again, every time we get together, it's an amazing conversation. For those of you, I want to provide a little bit of context. So, again, your title is simple. Again, very straightforward. When I say simple, I mean it is you are someone who is known in your industry, vice president of strategic growth at your organization, just doing amazing things, right? But you are more than that. So, aside from your title, when I ask you like, who are you? How would you answer that question?
That's a tough question. I think I'm a bit of an interesting one in that I have a technical background that ended up in a business role. So I started out as a systems architect. I was in software engineering for a while, doing 3D systems development for simulations within the defense industry, and then transitioned gradually into the business realm in focusing initially on writing technical proposals, and then shifted to full-time business development and strategic growth. And so a lot of what's happening right now in the world with innovation and AI and sort of this very rapid infusion of technical capability into the business world, I think suits my background particularly well. So it's interesting for me as a leader to be someone who came out of this technical, very hands-on technical background, to now be in roles where I'm having to think more strategically and navigate this very vast ocean of innovation and technology that's permeating everything we do now. Very interesting position to be in now.
And dude, if I can, again, a little more context for the audience. What does JANUS, your research, your organization, research group, what does it look like today? Like if someone had never heard of your organization, how would you describe it in the significance it has within the industry?
Yeah, so we're an interesting bird. We primarily focus on providing professional services to Department of War clients, and so what that means is really doing the behind the scenes engineering, advisory services, management services for predominantly Army, but we do also quite a bit of Navy and Air Force support as well. Anything from financial management to business management into field services engineering. We send our own people out with deployed units into the field to support and facilitate their use of various equipment in battlefield environments. And then we do a lot of acquisition support work where we help Department of War make better decisions around buying, integrating, and fielding equipment and capabilities for the warfighters.
Thank you so much. And so I asked that question because I wanted to provide the audience with some really great foundation for the next one. You've done some amazing things over your career and over the last 6 odd years here. Um, I'd love to know, like, what are you most proud of right now? Like, what are you most proud of, and why?
Um, Frankly, I'm most proud of the trajectory that Janus has taken. I've been with Janus for a very long time, the vast majority of my career. I started with the company in around the 2002 timeframe, and have been with them essentially the entire time. Had a brief stint where I left
Yeah.
and got clawed back in. Just couldn't quit them. Just couldn't quit them. But it's super interesting to me to not just watch, but be a part of the long term growth trajectory of a company. To see it go from kind of a mom and pop shop in the early days, an 8A, woman owned, minority owned small business, with frankly just a handful of employees, a couple of contracts, right? And now to see it grow where we've acquired a couple of companies, we've taken in private equity, we're growing to the point now where our primary competitors are much, much, much larger than us. And so we're having to consistently punch above our weight class. Sometimes you win, sometimes you get knocked on your butt. But that path, being a part of that process almost from beginning to now, has just been a delight, just an absolute delight in my career, being able to be a part of it, and have to be heard and to be a voice in that process has been a really just an honor and a privilege.
It, I hope, I don't think most people understand like how significant that is, though. Like, to, I would say, again, I could be completely wrong when I say this. I think a good number of people, probably the majority of people, join organizations that have been around for a long time.
Sure.
Um, and yeah, for someone to come in when it's quote unquote mom and pop and be there for the duration, for a long period, when you've seen it come from, as Drake would say, started from the bottom, now you're here. Um, it's pretty amazing. And I'd love to hear, what is the what is the thing that you, back in the day, was the leadership skill that you were like, wow, like this has taken me so far. And then today you're like, wow, like that was good there, but that's not what my job is now. That's not what the leverage leadership skill is now. Like, do you, I see you smiling. Is there something that pops in your head?
Yeah, the word that immediately pops into my head is ownership. I think that served me well throughout my tenure at Janus, and it's the notion of just taking ownership, and when maybe no one else wants it, maybe no one else has an idea, right? So kind of in the absence of better ideas, have an idea and own it and run with it. I've been very, very fortunate at Janus that the organization values the ideas of its people, and they value the people that we bring in. And it's easy to look around and see organizations that don't care, that don't value the ideas of their people. But I've been at Janus for so long because they clearly place value on it, and it's frankly kind of easy at Janus to come up with an idea, come up with some innovation, some harebrained notion, and then to see it adopted by the team, right? And this is true across our team, right? So we get ideas from all over the company, all over the enterprise, from direct staff who are working on contract every day supporting warfighters, all the way to our indirect staff supporting the team and building the capacity for growth. We will pull ideas from wherever they need to come from, and so
Yeah.
it's a nice environment to own problems, right, and get the rest of the team to own problems, and that's really the only way we can keep momentum going with our clients as well, right? Like they have very serious challenges. They have real world problems they need to solve, and Janus's team comes in and owns those problems. A big part of our DNA as a company. And I think it fits me very well because it's the way I operate as well. So
Well, you just talked about, one of the things that you do really well and you have to do is support the momentum of your clients. Um, but with that said, I mean, your title literally is strategic growth, not just growth. So can you help us understand, how do you define the difference between growth and strategic growth? Because my assumption in all the leaders I've worked with, not all growth is good growth.
no, that's fair. In fact, my current title is fairly new as of January. It was the result of a kind of a reorganization internally of our company and kind of how we think about growth and business development in particular. Previously, I was vice president of business development, which is a much more common title for companies like us. But this notion of strategic growth is about long-term vision, where we're trying to go as a company next 5, 10 years, recognizing that the world is not only has changed, but is in the process of a dramatic change.
Yeah.
Some of the innovations and tool sets that are coming online right now, people recognizing that labor is different now, and people have to think about it differently. Workforces are different now, and people have to think about it differently. And so that recognition drove a big reorganization and moved my role more from talking in defense terms, right? But from more tactical growth, right? Day to day sort of growth operations, thinking about the next proposal, right? Whatever the current proposal is and when it's due and how to
Yeah.
win and all that kind of stuff, to thinking a little bit broader in terms of where are we going as a company? How do we not just survive, but thrive in this kind of new world that's forming in the midst of AI tool sets standing up and all this kind of stuff, right? How do we navigate it? What even will be bought and sold in another 5 years? Right? Will professional services be valued and be bought by our clients, or will they offload all of that cognition onto some AI tool set enhanced by their own subject matter expertise? Right? How do we continue to be um, to bring value to our clients? And so that's really the core of my current title and my focus right now is figuring out how we continue to bring value to our clients. We still have plenty to deliver, uh, despite every change that's happening in the world. And I actually think all the changes are, it's creating a lot of risk, but it's creating a ton of opportunity as well, right? And the companies that can identify those opportunities and seize them are the ones that are going to thrive. So.
I'd love to follow up with that, and that, how are you w- were you were you placed in this role, I, because you already do this very well. You are a forward thinker. You already kind of thought in strategic growth ways, or did they just know you could do it, and so you put in this position? Say, and I guess the ultimate question is how do you have to, and even if it's not for you, for anyone else, how do you shift your mind from just BD to the strategic growth? Because again, that it's a different muscle. Like, how would someone shift their thinking that direction?
Yeah, you're being very flattering and probably giving me too much credit. To answer your initial question, you'd have to ask others in the company that placed me in the role to determine why. For my part, I think it's tough in a company Janus's size. So to frame it up, we are exactly what your intro video sort of described, right? We're I tend to call us fun sized when I talk to other people, right? We're not super large. We're not Booz Allen, Lockheed Martin, right? We're not that. But no longer are we 8A, small business, right? So we're in this mid-tier category, punching above our weight class, right? Everything is a fight. We're always the underdog, perpetual underdog, right? And so we have to be very selective about how we choose our battles. Um, I think from my perspective, it's easy to get caught, especially in a company our size. It's easy to get stuck in the tactical view, right? Everything is a fire, everything is a crisis. Um, Everyone is always busy,
Yeah.
but a lot of that busyness can sometimes just be activity traps.
Yeah.
And there's a human nature tendency, I think, to um, place value on activity rather necessarily than outcomes.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
if we're looking at all the activity and saying, oh man, like we're all working really hard, so we must be doing a great job, right? That's not the measure. The measure is the outcome, and what results were achieved, and how quickly, and everything else, right? How efficiently. And so it's easy for a company our size to get stuck in the tactical when you're under, I don't want to say under resourced, right? But your resources are thinner compared to a competitor, a large competitor, right? So your resources are thinner. You're always having to do more with less. And the result is people getting very focused on whatever the close in fight is, right? If you're in the battlefield and you're getting actively shot at, you're probably not thinking about the full scope of the war at hand, right? You're dealing with getting shot at right then. And that's kind of how a lot of mid-sized and particular organizations find themselves, right? The leaders get focused on whatever today's problem is, and they tend to lose sight of longer range targets. And so that balance between tactics and strategy becomes where our leaders have to be able to navigate. You have to be able to put down the tactics for a minute and say, okay, let's back up, zoom out, right? Take a look at where we are 5 years, 10 years. What's the
Hmm.
market doing? What are our clients doing? Where are the needs now? And especially as you break out of like pure entrepreneur leadership, right? Our initial entrepreneurs and owners are no longer leaders in the company, right? They've moved on to board positions and whatever else.
Yeah.
So now we have to maintain that alignment with client needs and requirements, be strategic while still getting the day-to-day fights, finished up. So it's a tough balance to strike for sure.
That's That's so interesting. I mean, I literally another organization I work with, they recently transitioned their CEO, or their CEO. I'll say the CEO transitioned from CEO to chairwoman,
Sure.
specifically because they felt the CEO, and she felt, because she's a woman, she felt that she was so focused on like the months ahead and knew she needed to be thinking out years ahead, but just was too ingrained in the company. And so like, the intentionality around literally pulling someone away and saying, look, this is your job. Think forward, think you can't be pulled into the day to day like everyone else.
Yep.
I think it's really
It's so
cool.
common. It's so common, especially when resources are constrained. It's kind of
Hmm.
all hands on deck for whatever the current fire drill is. And it's like, okay, who's steering the ship though, right?
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this has been amazing. I'm looking forward to getting to this next piece of the conversation because every you and I we have a topic that we're going to talk about. So let's talk about it in just a moment.
Sure.
If you were a CEO in that early eight-figure range, quick question: do you ever feel like you have a good team, good people, but things still slow down unless you get involved? That's usually not a bad team problem. It's a you as a bottleneck problem. And most CEOs don't see it clearly until it's already choking speed, ownership, and execution. So I put together a quick tool called the 5 CEO Bottlenecks Slowing Your $10 to $25 million company. In about 10 minutes, it shows you where you're personally slowing the business down across strategic clarity, decision speed, delegation, trust, and communication, and which one bottleneck to fix first over the next 90 days. If you're watching on YouTube, scan the QR code on the screen or go to gpsleadership.org/scorecard. That's gpsleadership.com/scorecard. If you're on LinkedIn or Instagram, just comment scorecard below and my team will DM you the link. Once you've scored yourself, you have the option to book a free 15-minute executive leadership diagnostic call with me. We'll walk through your results, highlight where you're most likely the bottleneck, and tell you straight whether a deeper Executive 360 snapshot makes sense for you right now. So, if you suspect you might be the ceiling on speed and ownership, comment scorecard or head to gpsleadership.org/scorecard and start there. See ya. Okay, so super excited about this conversation. At least this next question: what's hard right now? When we talk about leadership, I'd love to hear what is the one of the number one things on your brain right now and why?
Yeah, yeah, that's a softball. The number one thing on my mind right now has been this emergence of AI into kind of every crevice of organizational leadership. It is pervasive. That you look on social media and there are all different camps of people talking about it and talking about its impact. Um, and it's wild to me that so many on social media are talking like as if it is not having an impact, as if it's not producing any positive results for organizations, right? It's all just a bubble that's going to burst. It's not real. It's not, it's not, it's never gonna, like, it's gonna die soon. There's no way. What I see in my seat is dramatic changes in the way organizations think about work, the types of work that humans perform and should perform and can perform. How you know Organizations have multiple pressures on them to deliver results for their clients, to deliver results for their shareholders and stakeholders, to take care of the people within the organization, right? All these essentially conflicting priorities, and philosophies of organizational leadership that align um, care of people with outcome oriented results. I i don't know how much longer those kind of philosophies can stagnate, right? What I mean is, uh, there are leaders I've talked to that have historically believed, well, if I take care of the people, the rest will take care of itself. But then, I live in the Seattle area, and it's easy to look around the Seattle area and see companies laying off tens of thousands of people in one
Yeah.
fell swoop, and relying on AI to fill that gap. Now they're obviously getting pressure to gain efficiency, to improve outcomes for shareholders, et cetera, et cetera. And they're certainly finding that there is at least a belief that AI can deliver those results for them. But then people get lost in that mix, right? And so it's just like every other major paradigm shift we've had from a technological perspective. I think the difference right now is this one is incredibly rapid, and the adoption rate of the technology is incredibly rapid. I was in a meeting yesterday with several other companies, and I was amazed to see that we were working on a problem in real time, a problem for a client in real time. Every company on the call had their own suite of AI tools, and they were all leveraging those tools in real time, to great outcomes, right? Very rapidly getting to solutions that a year ago would have taken us much, much longer to come up with. And so then it becomes about how people are able to leverage the tools. Are you able to drive them? Are you able to recognize what they're good at, what they're not, how to implement them, how not to implement them? Um, and so, from a leadership perspective, that paradigm shift is increasingly tough to navigate. As the tools get better and better, you begin to see, um, the risk is that leaders will begin to think about the tools first and the people second.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
risk. And I feel it. I feel it as a leader. The tools that I now have access to are able to do things that previously only humans in our company could do. And the difference is the tools are always on,
Hmm.
they're always accessible. Uh, they never go on PTO, they never take time off. They work 24/7. Um, and so as a leader, the risk is it becomes easier and somewhat frictionless to just go out to your AI tool sets of choice to dispatch a task than it is to go to people within your own organization to complete that task. And so I think leaders are going to have a tough time navigating that and figuring out what it means to their teams, what it means to their organizations, what it is even to be a leader in this environment. How it's somewhat brain breaking, I think, to be a leader in this environment where all of a sudden it almost feels like you have an additional set of employees
Mm.
that you can leverage that are always on, always available. They never complain, right? It's just easier. And so
You
how do you ensure that you're still valuing people in that environment?
you the phraseology, the phrase you just used is was so interesting. You said a new group of people, a new group of employees. I've heard someone recently speak of AI in the future of it being a another species, and and the importance of again understanding how to work with it before it runs us over, right? Um, as you said, new type of employee. I think about what there are. Uh, what they call it in union terms. There are accepted people, like, and you have to work with them differently. People who are supervisor versus hourly and so on and so forth. And there are different ways to utilize and leverage each type of person. You should be thinking about the same way for AI. But in preparation for this conversation, I was kind of thinking through these ideas with someone, and I was like, dude, like you're gonna have to be as a leader, as an organization, you're gonna have to be extremely intentional with building your bench for the future, because if the AI, if the if the technology can do the things that say entry level used to do, then you don't need them, you don't hire them. Okay, cool. But what happens next? And say mid level, so you don't hire them. But at some point, people are gonna either leave or pass away or something, and you're gonna need someone who is trained, has the skills, has the analytical thinking to operate these tools. And if you just cut off everything at the bottom because it's cheaper, you ultimately are not setting your organizations up for success long term. Am I missing anything in my thought process right there? Because this is
I don't think so. I think that's absolutely the risk. And I see other companies assessing this risk and then making wildly different decisions about what to do about it, right? So like you look at Amazon and Microsoft, and there's okay, like our junior level software engineers gone, right? We simply don't need them. Claude Code or whatever the tool of the week is, right? Can do all that they do faster, cheaper, more effectively, whatever. And then I believe it was IBM. I believe it was IBM. Uh, I read an article recently that they took a totally different tack. They're like, no, we're actually increasing hiring of junior level employees. What we've done instead is we've completely rewritten our requirements for those employees. And so they're thinking in terms of these are people who are applying expertise to driving the tools,
yeah.
right? They're guiding, putting guardrails on tools and driving tools towards some outcome. And that becomes kind of the new entry level requirement for junior level folks, right? And so I think that kind of thought process is is where we'll all ultimately end up, right? It's not that we don't need people. It's that we need people that maybe have a different skill set that we can either train or locate in the marketplace to bring in order to take advantage of the tool sets.
I'm not sure if this was Gary V or Alex Hermosa who made this reference, which it makes sense to me and sounds like exactly what you were saying. They were saying, they kind of look at AI as let's say rocks. Let's say people throwing rocks, or everyone in the war has rocks, but now one side has like M16s or something like that. Like they have some, it's like, okay, if I need less people, cool. I can reduce my people who have M16s. But he's like, well, how about you just you have the same name of people and you arm them all with three
That's
M16s?
right. No, that's right.
It's like, why not? Yeah, to your point.
No, that's absolutely right. And I think ultimately that's where it'll all land, right? Is that everyone will have a baseline of tools,
Mhm.
and the difference will not be, reducing workforce, hopefully, right? This is all hope. hopefully it won't all be about reducing workforce. It'll be about leveraging the tools to increase throughput. Right? What can we do now that we have these tools and the same people we had yesterday? What can we now do? And I think that's the mindset shift that we need to make. But there is so much pressure right now on, can AI cut costs? Right? Where you hear it everywhere now. Can AI cut costs? Well, sure, but you're losing more than just the people that way. So it it's a tough shift to make mentally as a
Yeah.
leader, right? And like, we had a contract recently that we were about to execute with a third party to do a bunch of work for us, um, and then we realized AI could do literally all of it much faster, right? So it was going to be a 6-month contract, tens of thousands of dollars to execute. We did it using a free AI tool, and it took about a week, right? And that is substantial.
Yeah.
That is a substantial lesson, and it's like, okay, if we keep doing that, I don't know what humans are doing anymore
Mm.
for work, right? So how do we make this? How do we get back to what people do and what only people can do, and figure out how to identify what those things are, establish the requirements for the future workforce, and then run organizations against those requirements. Very difficult transition to make, and even very large businesses are struggling with it today.
Because unfortunately, easy easy is easy. And and,
Yeah,
and then there's the idea of like, um I can't remember who said it, but people have heard this before. It's always hard. Either things are going to be hard now and easier later, or easy now or hard later. And man, it is very tempting to go easy now for many organizations, because that's what they're graded on, is the
that's right.
now, not the long-term health of the organization.
That's right. And the future right now is so uncertain. Right?
Hmm.
You ask a dozen experts what's going to happen, and the reality is no one knows. Right? These AI tools are moving so fast. Every week there's a new thing, some new hot thing that's like going to change everything. It's like you can't keep up. Even someone with a
Hmm.
high level of curiosity and a high level of engagement, it's a struggle to just to keep up with what's happening in the space. And so the future is very unclear. And companies are making very different decisions, leaders are making very different decisions based on assumptions and predictions and hope and everything else, right? So it's going to be interesting to see where we all land when the dust settles, uh, if and when it ever settles, right? But these decisions will have lasting impact.
Hmm. Well, you also talked about the people piece, because the people are important. Um, I'd love to hear, have you ever led a team that was focused on doing so many different things at the same time? How did you keep them aligned to ensure that they could get the right things done versus the busy?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is, some of our larger, more technically challenging proposal efforts have incredibly matrixed teams of people from all walks, right? You've got pricing folks in and contracts folks in, procurement and compliance folks are in the mix, security folks are in the mix. Then you've got a whole different beast with like technical experts, subject matter experts within a certain functional domain, and you're trying to bring them all together to an end product that in reality only a couple of folks in the room can see in their minds, right? Like can visualize the end state. And so trying to
Yeah.
drive all this matrix team toward some objective is really all about vision, I think. And
Yeah.
then kind of old school management techniques just to try to nudge progress, right? Measure and nudge progress along multiple parallel lines of effort. Um, and frankly, people are doing that now, even with agentic AI systems. Uh, you can view it much the same way. People talk in AI terms about orchestration layer, and so you have a leader even amongst humans, who's orchestrating these parallel lines of effort, right? Checking in,
Mhm.
ensuring progress is being made, ensuring outcomes are being achieved, until eventually the vision becomes reality.
What what do you I love we start off this conversation kind of diving into that core leadership skill. You said the ownership that has served you very well throughout all of your time with your organization, and when you left and came back. um, Obviously you had something that was very valuable. That's why they brought you back. And I try to get out, they keep pulling me back in. I know I'm really dating myself. I'd love to hear what is still what are you still personally working on as a leader? Like, where do you think that there's still room for you to improve or grow? Or is it what I believe myself? You're just perfect.
No, so much to improve on as a leader. Um, I think personally, Alex, my biggest challenge as a leader is um, is being an old school doer. Uh, and I
Mm,
think what happens with me in particular, and I see it with other leaders as well, is that it's you can observe a team uh, t- performing a task in a way that is not how you would have done it, right? And you all you can really do as a leader is guide and nudge and mentor, and ultimately they'll either arrive at the same outcome you would have or not. And it is hard for me personally to watch people do things in a way that is different than I would have done it. um, Sometimes I want to come in and take the task over, right? Sometimes I want to come in and do it and default back to the doing part of my personality, and that's a really hard thing to let go of. Um, it and a lot of leaders that I see have that same challenge, right? Where they grew up being solid doers, solid performers, and then they're elevated into a leadership position, and they find it very difficult to let go of the outcome, right? To let go of the hands-on approaches. And so that is really my biggest area for growth, I think, as a leader. Um,
can I ask you for advice? So I am there's an individual who we just ran one of our executive leadership diagnostics for, and that was the feedback they got from the people around them, was like, you need to let go, like we can do this.
yep, yep.
And they, to your point, like they struggle, like, but I like doing this piece. I it's like, it's also not your job. um what advice would you have for that person who is stressed, still in that tension with that? What advice would you have?
I am the wrong person to give advice to anyone struggling with that. I'll be the first to tell you. Um, no, all I could say is you have to learn to trust. You have to learn to trust the process, to trust the team, trust the people, um, and recognize that even if they're doing it in a way that is different than you would have, they are highly capable. They're in your organization for a reason. They're on your team for a reason. You know, value them, trust them, guide them, and lead them, but trust them to get the job done. Um, I'm speaking to myself. I'm seeing myself on the screen and speaking to myself. So that's the advice I'm giving to myself. Others can take it or leave it, but um, it is an ongoing challenge for sure.
Hey Mike, I love it, brother. I love it. I know we got to wrap up, so I mean, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience as we begin to close up our time together? And audience member, if you haven't done so, please do click the like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Mike, it's on you.
No, Alex, I appreciate the conversation. I think for the audience, you know, keep leading, keep leading people. Despite these emerging technologies and where things are going with AI, humans bring so much to the teams, to the organizations that they're in, And we have to adjust to how the world is now developing and what technologies now exist. We have to make adjustments, sure, but don't lose sight of the value of people and the value of the skills that they bring to the team.
Man, I it's amazing how much true is in what you just said. Like again, there's the easy is so tempting, right? Um, at the end of the day, it's either easy today and hard later, or hard today and easy later.
That's right.
And people at the end of the day matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mike, thank you so much for spending your time with us and sharing your stories, your perspectives, your advice, and really, admittedly, leaving us with some really difficult questions to grapple with as we as leaders think about how we again grow our teams, grow organizations, and prepare them to be successful in the years to come, not just the months to come. um,
Absolutely.
Everyone, you know where I'm going. Please, 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 if you found something of value, please don't keep it yourself. Share it with one friend. Don't look back, reach back, bring someone else with them. Make sure you click and share your thoughts and comment. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, I encourage all of you, stay strong, stay positive, but definitely stay moving. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and in speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.